Please work, please work, please work, please work. I think we're in motion here. I think we're in motion. 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 Come on. Redirecting. And 1, 2, 3. I think we are rocking and rolling. Yes, sir. Hoosier Nation. Look at your IU football squad. Your Indiana Hoosiers, who kicked off as a pick-em when the game started, already have bagged a Big Ten win against a non-doormat as IU defeats the Illinois Fighting Illini in the season opener 23-20 in the last season of IU football. The Hoosiers just went 0-9 in Big Ten play. They didn't win a conference game. And guess what? Before the calendar even gets through the first week of September, Indiana's 1-0. They've, to some degree, gotten the stench out of their mouth from 2021. And now the Hoosiers have a bit of a passing game, and they're winning close games. They're going to dive into our rapid reaction and so much more here on a bonus podcast, episode 261 of the Hoosier Sound, where we're your official podcast of Indiana HQ. Matt, you were plugged in, watching this game from start to finish. What's the biggest thing Indiana fans need to be excited about after that game?
The resilience that this team showed, the fact that they were playing like utter trash for like 3/4 of that game, because other than that one drive in the fourth quarter, they played like booty as well. And for them to then pull it out in the end. Actually, you know what? For the offense to play bad through 3/4, because I thought the defense played very well today, other than a few problems when it comes to stopping the run. But I'm going to give credit to Illinois for playing very well for that part. But I thought the defense played very well. The offense pulled through when they needed to, and we get a win. Was it pretty? God, no. It was one of the ugliest football games I've ever watched.
How many games are going to be pretty with this team, right? We can't expect.
I don't think any game is going to be pretty with this team, and that's what I came here to say. It actually was my main point of my original argument. Winning teams win games that are ugly, and they may not win pretty at all this season.
They're not going to, except against Idaho.
Maybe not. But winning teams win games like this, pull it out in the end, and have players on the roster like Connor Bazelak, who can just pull a rabbit out of his butt with 2 minutes left in the game and look so calm in that situation. It's his first game in an IU uniform. It's at home in a game that we're favored to win. And he puts on the helmet and he gets behind that shaky, terrible, inconsistent offensive line, and he makes them look like they're half decent. Shout out to Cam Camper. Shout out to DJ Matthews Jr. Shout out to Shaun Shivers, who got his soul left his body tonight. Okay? But I'm so proud of this team. I'm happy for Tom Allen. I wish he could figure out that Aaron Hiller is terrible, but that's a whole different discussion. I want to say one last thing before I let Nathan talk. I am more confused right now than I was before the season started, because I said on our opening podcast last week talking about this game, I was like, I will learn a lot about this team tonight, about where they're going to be and what they're going to look like by the end of the season. And right now, folks, I can tell you this. I have absolutely no idea what this team is going to look like next week. So buckle up. This could be a fantastic season, or it could be an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah, but you know what? Nothing could have happened as far as 2022 was concerned without Indiana winning this game. And I mean, it didn't have to look pretty. It didn't have to look beautiful. No bowl game, no hopes of a redemption season were possible if IU did not take care of business tonight. And I see those of you watching our live stream. I see those of you commenting in our live chat. I see you, Jack. Yeah, somehow, some way they pulled it off. Exactly. And this is what Matt and I were talking about before our podcast tonight. Tom Allen is 16-19 now in his career in the Big Ten. That's really freaking good at Indiana. Really good. Okay. And you could look back. Okay. Kevin Wilson was 6-30 in Big Ten play. Bill Lynch was 6-26. Cam Cameron, 12-28. That's not too bad either. Terry Hepner, 4-12. Jerry DiNardo has a BTN analyst job because of his familiarity as an Indiana football coach. Jerry DiNardo went 3-21 in the Big Ten as an Indiana football head coach. And what Matt and I were saying was, look, yeah, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State in your division is brutal. But in 2019, Indiana did not defeat any of those teams and had an 8-win season. Okay? There are wins on the schedule, especially when you get Iowa and Minnesota swapped out of your Big Ten West opponents for home Illinois and
away Nebraska.
Away Nebraska. And we know how Nebraska looks, man. Now we're just saying, oh, Indiana, Indiana once again seems to be in a better spot than the Cornhuskers. I just want to say, though, Indiana did knock off the Illinois Fighting Illini 23-20. I see those of you in our live chat. Let us know what you think about that game, how pumped you are. Clearly, we're starting a podcast here at 1 a.m. Eastern because of how fired up we are. Those of you who aren't still awake, I hope you're able to tune into this in the morning and see our raw reactions here. Indiana wins their first Big Ten game since December 15th, 2020, when they knocked off Wisconsin at Camp Randall Stadium. It's their first home Big Ten win since the previous week when IU beat Maryland. Remember, that was where Michael Penix Jr. suffered an injury. How about this? What an outstanding game, as you mentioned, Matt, for Cam Camper and DJ Matthews. They did it in different ways. A beautiful touchdown strike from Bazelak to Matthews gave Indiana the lead in the second quarter, and Camper steadily found gaps in that mid-range against the Illinois defense to the tune of 11 catches for 156 yards. Someone had to step up in this receiving core. And Matt, Cam Camper did that. He's a JUCO player. We've seen occasionally JUCO players rise to the occasion. Cam Camper and DJ Matthews are basically starting wide receivers from here on out until something changes. Wouldn't you see it that way?
Yeah, clearly. Cam Camper might be our best wide receiver. Not even just because statistically he had the best game tonight out of all the wide receivers. I'm just talking in general. I mean, he does everything well. He's a tool of all trades, right? He can do everything. Jack of all trades, tool. Yeah. I don't know what he's a Swiss Army knife. He can do anything, right? What you ask him to run short routes in the seam, you ask him to go deep, go long, cut through the two safeties in the middle. He can do all those things. Maybe he can work on ball control a little bit and not fumbling it.
Yeah, but you know what? Just to cut off on that play, I actually thought Camper's elbow was down, but the coaching staff didn't make a noise of it. They didn't review it. Hey, when you win games, those kind of things do get overlooked. I'm curious to get Tom Allen's thoughts on that. At the end of the day, look, Indiana did come out with a win.
Yes, but I also thought his elbow was down. I thought it was absolutely blasphemous that they didn't. They reviewed 18 different plays this game, but the one play that is actually the other play was the Illinois touchdown that they somehow took off the board. Finally, Indiana getting on the right side of a officiating call. We get that once every 2 years, so that's nice to see. But Cam Camper, DJ Matthews, that bomb that Bazelak threw to DJ Matthews. So pretty. That was a beautiful. It just hit him perfectly in stride for 52 yards and a touchdown. You could not place the ball any better.
No.
That gets me excited. Bazelak ended up 28 of 52. I would say he probably threw about 15 balls, about a mile over his receiver totals. If you added them all up together, they would go around Memorial Stadium about 3 times. But I'm going to chalk that down to adrenaline more than anything, and feeling pressured in the pocket. Because look, at the end of the day, we need to talk about this offensive line. This offensive line was terrible. Terrible. You look at our rushing statistics, 26 carries for 32 yards. That's awful. And that's not on the running backs. Like Shaun Shivers was getting met in the backfield on every single play. There was not a single play where the offensive line got pushed, got priority, got up the field, created a seam. There was nowhere for these guys to run. Okay.
No,
the only time we had a productive running play was either A, on first down, and we handed off to Josh Henderson, by the way, transfer from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Not familiar with him. Or B, it was the last play of the game where he went hurry up, caught the defense off guard, and Shaun Shivers plowed it into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. The tempo worked. And we'll talk about Walt Bell here in a second.
Let's jump right into it.
Okay,
Matt, Indiana clearly has a QB one. Forget wide receiver one. Right? Any conversation about Connor Bazelak or Jack Tuttle is done. Tuttle, look, and we've seen this. We saw it on Thursday night, and we saw it on Thursday night with Penn State. There is a lot of value in having a competent backup quarterback. And with Penn State, Sean Clifford went down. Drew Aller came in, wasn't really effective. Of course, he's a true freshman, 5-star quarterback. He's really young. Tuttle, experienced. He's going to get reps at some point this season, but Indiana's starting quarterback from here on out is Connor Bazelak. Bazelak threw for 330. It's the first 300-yard passing game for Indiana since Michael Penix against Western Kentucky. It's the first 300-yard passing game for Indiana in a Big Ten game since Penix at Ohio State. We all remember that game back in 2020 as well. The thing is, Bazelak threw away a lot of his balls because of the pressure, because of this, because of that. But this connection now between Connor Bazelak and Walt Bell, and I know there's a lot of question marks around the decision to hire Bell, but you saw an Indiana offense to some degree with a game plan tonight. They were going to go quick. There were a few screen passes in there to try to help out the offensive line. And when Connor Bazelak had time, you were going to capitalize on his arm strength to push the ball down the field. Matt, Connor Bazelak and Walt Bell clearly, to me, are a step up from whatever crap Indiana's offense showed against 2020, because Illinois' defense isn't that shabby. And IU pushed the ball down the field pretty well outside of the third quarter.
Outside of the third quarter, there's a couple questionable calls. I'm a play call stickler. I'm the guy that's always backseat quarterbacking. There was a third down call, I believe, inside of our own 10. It was like 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6. We decided to do like a quarterback draw. And I really lost my mind.
Yeah.
Or that was a Mike DeBoard call if I've ever seen one. But to give him credit, he really, really pulled it out on that last drive. I would say, right? My reaction to this game is completely different if that last 2 minutes doesn't happen. And look, you play the game for 40 minutes, right? You play the game for 40 minutes an hour. Sorry, you play him for an hour. At the end of an hour, 40 minutes is basketball. At the end of the hour, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who is winning at the end of the game is all that matters. So you can play like absolute garbage for 58 minutes of the game, but if you play well for 2 minutes, that is all that matters. And so props to Walt Bell. The play calls and the final drive were fantastic. There was one screen that I remember very vividly. Mm-hmm. Had the whole left side of the line pull off. Basically, as a screen pass, wide receiver just beyond the left tackle catches the ball. I believe it was DJ Matthews who caught it, and he took it about 10 yards. I thought that was the most inventive thing I've seen from the IU offense in about 4 years, or at least since Kalen DeBoer was here. So I was very excited to see that. I think would like to see more of that. I know at the start of the game, we saw a couple wide receiver screens on those drives to get some of the field goals. I was super excited to see those because I was clamoring for them last year. Cam Camper was on the beneficiary of a couple of those. But overall, I thought Walt Bell did a decent job for his first game. He should be, given props for the last drive. But let's not forget how bad the first quarter was.
It was
the
crazy.
Third quarter.
Peaks and valleys, if you ask me. That's how that game went offensively. And Indiana's going up against the Big Ten defense first game, a lot of new pieces. But the one thing I will say is, yes, you have a lot of new additions to this offense. Remember, you're transitioning Donovan McCulley from QB to receiver. You had a true freshman in Jalen Lucas, who is interesting. But at some point, Indiana and Walt Bell specifically, who's running this offense, decided, look, they procrastinated. It was the last drive of the game, but they decided, look, our strengths are Connor Bazelak, Cam Camper, and DJ Matthews. And everything else took a back seat. And I have to give credit to this team for figuring that out, especially on that last drive, because the entirety of the second half was total crap until then. As we tweeted over on Indiana HQ, Connor Bazelak in the second half was 10 of 18 for 55 yards and an interception the entire second half before that final drive. And all of a sudden, Bazelak, in that last stretch, flipped the switch. And you saw him, especially that first down play. The first play of that drive, I thought, had a lot of significance because there's Bazelak. He's got some pressure around him, and he flings one to DJ Matthews on the right side, and they pick up 6, and it's a 2nd and 4. And then on 3rd and 4, he hits Matthews again for a first down. If you go back and look on that 3rd and 4, the third play of that game-winning drive, Indiana motions out a running back to the right side of the field. It helps Bazelak understand that Illinois is playing man-to-man defense. Matthews is on the left side, hits an out route to the sideline, and they pick up 12. And once you get that first down, things get so much easier for offenses, especially in a 2-minute drill. Now, Matt, make no mistake about this. For some reason, the officials on that last drive decided that they were going to pause the game to deliberate over some sort of substitution, 12 men, illegal substitute.
What was that?
That was abject disaster from the officials' point. Either review it or shut up and move the game along. And you cannot stick a pin in the game there. You can't hit the pause button on a game when a team's trying to drive for 2 minutes. And all I'm going to say is, Matt, I want to give full credit. I live tweeted this over on my personal account as the game was going on. I give a lot of credit to this offense for picking it up by the bootstraps and punching the ball into the end zone after the officials decided to just sit on their whistles and have a freaking convention for 5 minutes during the middle of that drive.
I want to give props to the offense for staying focused during that. Because that very, very easily could have ended in the team throwing a pick on the next play, being, either tilted from the refs, it's just not making an obvious call, or just getting iced, right?
Football's got a rhythm. Football's got a rhythm to it.
Yes. And we were driving. We were going high tempo. There was plays happening. We were driving down the field methodically. And then they spend 2 minutes literally huddling over each other, playing tiddlywinks in the middle of the field.
Was it a sub? Was it not? Did Bielema do it right? Did he not? Tom Allen's blowing a gasket. Let's just chit-chat here. as the freaking Big Ten conference game is coming down to the wire. Great timing, everyone.
I also have to this is a whole different question. This is gonna be a whole topic for an entire podcast, but the way in which Tom Allen barters and argues with the refs, I don't think works.
Oh,
because the way Bielema does it, and a lot of very savvy head coaches, maybe not Nick Saban. Nick Saban will blow up on a ref or two in his time. But there are plenty of coaches that just take it calm, collected, and have a cordial relationship with the referees, even in times of crisis. Tom Allen, love him. It's the reason why he's so much fun and why he's our head ball coach. Gets very animated, and I think it turns officials off. And I know people are going to be like, well, that's not supposed to happen, right? That's not how officiating our officials are supposed to handle situations. I don't care. They're human beings, right? At the end of the day, if somebody is screaming at you, even though he may not be screaming profanities, I mean, he could be literally screaming the gospel, but the way in which he is screaming, the
it's just how much impact
anything he could be singing to the officials, but the way in which he's singing to the officials is not pleasant to not only to look at, but to hear, to have it right in your ear. So
that's funny.
I feel like IU at the end of the day, a lot of times in those 50-50 situations, when it comes down to, hey, did you get the ear of the refs so they could look at this call? Did you get the ear of the refs so they, maybe are slightly biased towards a call because they hear it and they go and they're like, oh, but he said this, and then they talk it over, and then somehow the two monkeys in their brain create the outcome.
Clang, clang,
clang, clang, clang, clang, clang. Yeah. And then we get there was a pass interference on the play. The way that Tom Allen goes about doing it, I don't think is the best. It's him though, so he's not going to change it. I just think moving forward, I think it's something to identify that in late game situations, there's a chance that Tom Allen could blow us a 50-50 call just because he's running up and down the sideline like a maniac. Makes it fun to watch though.
Funny to think about. Yeah, folks, look, we're here. It's the Hoosier Sound. We're pumped after Indiana's 23-20 win over the Illinois Fighting Illini out of the Big Ten West. By the way, Indiana's now run up their win streak over Illinois to 4 games. The longest winning streak Indiana has over any conference opponent. We're the official podcast of Indiana HQ, folks. If you haven't yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos. If you haven't yet, follow us on Twitter at Indiana HQ and at the Hoosier Sound. That's the Hoosier Sound. We got over 6,500 of your closest friends following us on Twitter at Indiana HQ and thousands following us over at the Hoosier Sound. So make sure you give us a follow, a like, a retweet if you like what we're saying over on social media there. And if you're up and at it for it, you can head over to Instagram, follow us at indiana.hq as well. We'll be right here for you, the one-stop shop, free, no frills, no agenda, right down the middle the rest of the way between now and the rest of eternity as far as Indiana University sports are concerned. Indiana knocks off Illinois 23-20, a weird game that had a bunch of lead changes. Indiana grabbed a 3-0 lead at the start. Charles Campbell, reliable as always, knocked one in from 39. Isaiah Williams gave Illinois a 7-3 lead. DJ Matthews, a bomb. Beautiful play. Bazelak, a rainbow. Not sure if Indiana will score a more aesthetically pleasing touchdown than that the rest of the season. In Illinois had a field goal to make it 10-10. Charles Campbell with back-to-back 43-yarders to give Indiana 16-10 halftime lead. Then things really hit the skids for IU. Bazelak threw a pick on the first drive out of halftime. Brian Hightower scored a touchdown from Tommy DeVito. 17-16 was the score there. Illinois tacked on a field goal to make it 20-16. Yeah, controversial play involved. Look, overall, I hope the referees that call the game tonight don't really involve themselves with Indiana the rest of the way this year. And then, of course, the big game-winning drive. Connor Bazelak, 75 yards down the field, ending with a Shaun Shivers touchdown run. By the way, Bazelak showing a little mobility on a 4-yard carry down to the 1-yard line, but protected the football. Said we'll live to die another play. I will say Indiana strategically played that last drive perfectly, because when you think about the time that was left, if IU scored too quickly, Illinois would have had a chance to get 3 to send it into overtime. But Indiana started that last drive with 2:16 to go, and they finished it with 23 seconds left. That's exactly how you do things on the last drive. Look, Indiana may not win every game this season. It's going to be a struggle to get to 6. It's going to be a struggle to get to 6. But those are the little things you have to do in order to win games. And IU forced Illinois to use a timeout. Indiana strategically used their timeouts correctly. And after that's all said and done, IU won 23-20 over the Illinois Fighting Illini. A few post-game quotes. How about this? Connor Bazelak said, when you get into a rhythm with this offense, things really start to roll. Our contributor with Indiana HQ, Charlie Mason, wrapping up press conferences with Connor Bazelak and Tom Allen. Bazelak said, we knew we had that game from the beginning. That first drive, hey, look, you guys just trust your quarterback's words as far as that's concerned. Tom Allen, after the game, said he just told Bazelak to go score on that last drive. He didn't care how. Allen said, we got to get better 1 week at a time. Allen said the offensive line is not enough to win games. It was enough to win this one. And Allen overall said, I had a gut feeling that this is who we are. Matt, on the defensive side of the ball, really strong performance by Tom Allen, who's calling the shots on defense, and Chad Wilt, his first game as Indiana's defensive coordinator. Yes, Chase Brown had 199 rushing yards, but if you ask me, it was Luka Garza production, right? Chase Brown had 199 rushing yards, but it took 36 carries, right? And what I'm saying is, the analogy is Luka Garza a lot of times scored 30, 35 points, but it would take 20, 25 shots. I'm talking about Chase Brown here. Yes, he was excellent. Yes, Indiana has to tweak their defense to stop the run going forward. But I'm sitting here, Matt, and Indiana played a solid game defensively, 4 takeaways, and looks like they're going to be healthy going into week 2.
Well, hopefully. I don't know about the status of Bedford.
Yep.
Who went down with an injury.
Sure.
Shivers came back, looked okay. I mean, I looked as good as you could possibly look behind.
You look great on a 1-yard carry, man.
I'm telling you, you put prime prime Reggie Bush. You put Deion Sanders. Put Barry Sanders. You put LaDainian Tomlinson behind that offensive line, and I guarantee you they're not getting 100 yards this game. So. Getting 28 is whatever, 1.9. It's not going to do him a lot of favors on the stat sheet, right? But he came in clutch when it mattered. He got that touchdown. He drove into the end zone against a Illinois defense that honestly looked absolutely gassed. Even though the time of possession wasn't even close, I'm pretty sure.
Illinois had 36 to 24.
They had 13 more minutes of possession, but that Illinois defense definitely looked gassed. Props to Chase Brown. I know you brought him up.
Yep.
That guy's so good.
Good
also,
player.
Illinois' offensive line coach and offensive line.
And Bielema, right? It's Bielema too. At the top.
It's Bielema. Yeah, it's Bielema's thing. But I'd like to propose a trade. We will give Illinois all of our corn. You give us Chase Brown and your offensive line. Because can you just imagine our wide receivers and our skill players behind that offensive line? Well, it would be nice to have. So
you know who Illinois may need our quarterback. I mean, I don't know if we want to trade crops and agricultural resources, but either a quarterback or an extra receiver on our depth chart or a corner on our depth chart. I'm saying
absolutely. I thought Tommy DeVito was fine. He was fine. He was fine. He was a fine quarterback. He's not a a Super Bowl winner. He's not going to the NFL. He's not going to be on any draft radars any soon.
Yeah.
Heck, he's not even going to make an all-conference team. All right,
No.
but he was not the problem. They had so many drops this game. Their wide receivers were really bad.
Yeah.
They struggled getting open. There's a couple routes where I thought they could definitely there was space for them to run into. They just did not.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's DeVito's fault. But yeah, no, mad props to Chase Brown. That guy is really, really good. And he's actually super unlucky that he didn't get a touchdown this game. I mean, 36 carries, 204 yards. He was averaging 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
That's something that IU's gotta fix up and sure up.
Just so many touches though, and I'm gonna say this, Chase Brown deserves props for sure, but I'll sit here and I'll tell you, man, Indiana's deep at a lot of positions. Defense. Cam Jones, and you took the words right out of my mouth. We're on the same page here, Matt. What an absolute stud, man. I'll be fair with all of you listening. I don't have off the top of my head a list of the Big Ten's best linebackers, but I have to think Cam Jones is in the running for all Big Ten. I mean, maybe not the first team. I don't think first team's out of question, but one of that second or third team slot, some sort of legitimate all conference mention at linebacker this year. He is the heartbeat of this defense. 12 tackles flying around. He wasn't at 100% all game. Tip of my cap to Cam Jones. I'll list a bunch of defensive players coming up for IU who deserve credit, but Matt, Cam Jones, one of the stalwarts on the 2020 football team. He was there in 2019. He is the engine that this defense runs on, and that's going to be the case for the rest of the year.
I mean, there's no replacing who we lost last year. Like no let's be honest. You're not replacing Micah McFadden, right? You're just not. No, you're not. But he did one heck of a job.
Yeah, Ryder Anderson was solid. Raheem Lane is going to be a shot in the NFL. I mean, and Micah McFadden, as you mentioned, leads the way.
Yeah. So I mean, we lost so many guys from last year's defense on a defense that wasn't even that good, but it was just unlucky, right? But Cam Jones did one heck of a job trying to replace Micah McFadden tonight. I mean, we've talked about Taiwan Mullen incessantly on this podcast since he's basically started in his Hoosier career. But my God, did he make a game saving play in that fourth quarter there, closing out that tackle he had.
That was a hell of a play.
The play didn't count, but it didn't count because of the penalty. But it's like those kind of plays, even though it doesn't count, those are game-winning plays. He made those. He had a pass breakup there at the end, at the end of the game. He's just all over the field. He had a fumble. He forced a fumble that Illinois recovered with his knee by accident, but that's besides the point. He still was there, and he just creates chaos. And he's our best defensive player. I'm sure you're going to name him, but I got to give a shout out to Bo Robbins as well.
Oh, what a play! Let's single out the
game
play.
This game securing sack. We were only rushing 3, and
exactly.
he beats the left tackle of Illinois off the block. Beauty. And just blows by him, gets to the QB, sacks him. I mean, it would have been the cherry on top if he had forced a fumble. Didn't really matter at the end of the day. All that matters is that he wrapped up, secured the sack, and basically put the game away at that point. I mean, it was like a 99.999% chance repeating that Indiana was going to win the game from that point of the game. Fourth down in your own end zone, 2 seconds left. You're not scoring.
It became a lateral prayer type.
Right. Play. Exactly. So he basically secured the game, put it out of reach there. And for a guy that's his first career sack, and to be honest, he didn't get a lot of recognition this game. Like, I don't really remember his name being called at all, being involved with any of the plays this game. I mean, he might have had a few tackles or been part of some gang tackles, but he really wasn't on the field all that much. And when he got his opportunity, he took it. And I hope that is a building block for him.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Absolutely.
To kind of catapult himself into a breakout year this year, because he is one of those guys that has that natural talent, that natural athleticism that could really elevate this defense, and especially this defensive line, to the next level.
That was the play outside of the DJ Matthews touchdown where I said, wow, or heck yeah, I'm like, okay, you could see it developing in real time. Robbins chops the left tackle's hands down, his arms down, and that acceleration to get to DeVito. I don't even think DeVito was expecting Robbins to make that play. And on all three levels of the defense, from the front to the linebackers to the secondary, this was a comprehensive team effort. And before I give individual recognition, I mean, how great is it? This defense, it's got some attitude to it now. It's one game, no question. And look, not Idaho in week 2, but you can't take them lightly. But for sure, Western Kentucky in week 3 will provide a test. Cincinnati in week 4 will be even tougher. Nebraska in week 5 will be even arguably even tougher given the tempo that they play at. Either way, I would say all three offenses are better than what Illinois has. And so when I sit here and talk about Western Kentucky and Cincinnati's offenses are different than Illinois, are better than Illinois. No.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was not talking about Nebraska or Idaho for that matter.
Western Kentucky and Cincinnati's off. So Indiana will have to continue to sharpen, continue to refine, continue to tweak and adjust. But in the front, I mean, first and foremost, how about that goal line stand, right? You saw J.H. Tevis in there and Big C.O. in there and Aaron Casey landing the tackle from the linebacker spot. How about Patrick Lucas, who got in, and Nick James, who gave this team valuable snaps, Ladarius Cox and DeMarcus Elliott, who stuck their nose in there. It's not easy to play in the trenches. Alfred Bryant is asked to do a lot in this defense. He was in the opposite side of Bo Robbins in that end-of-game pass rush. In the linebacking core, Aaron Casey, Cam Jones. How about the wonderful play we saw all game from Deshaun McCullough, the true freshman who popped. He was noticeable at various points throughout the game. Jared Casey got his nose in there, made some plays. Miles Jackson on the pass rush. I'm just sitting here and saying, look, whether it's the front, the linebackers, or the incredible secondary that Indiana has with Jalen Williams and Taiwan Mullen, Josh Sanguinetti with the interception. I saw Brylan Lanier make some plays, the Alabama transfer. He was on coverage as well. I'm sitting here saying, hey, it isn't, yes, you lost Micah McFadden, but it looks like this IU defense is going to go too deep at almost every position out there. And this allows you to mold and adapt yourself to the different styles of offense that Indiana is going to play all year. Look, I know, Matt, that IU's offense is going to struggle to score 30 in any game the rest of the way after Idaho. Having a defense like this gives you confidence that maybe outside of the real super stud teams in this league, that IU's going to be in it until the fourth quarter, where you then hope Connor Bazelak makes it work.
Yes. Now this defense is going to keep us in a lot of games, in my opinion. Final shout out for me for an individual player, J.H. Travis.
Oh,
I know.
super.
I highlighted him.
Yeah.
In our preview, saying that he's a difference maker and somebody that, IU fans might not know off the top of their heads because he played at Cal. But he was an all Pac-12 all conference player last year. He is
honorable mention, still counts.
Honorable mention. Yeah. And he's a high caliber player, and he stood out on a terrible Cal team. And he made plays tonight when it mattered. And I thought it was very what's the word I'm looking for? It was very obvious how much trust the coaching staff has in him, because on the biggest, most important plays of the game, he was out there playing. They substituted him in to put him in there. That goal line stand. That was
amazing.
him. That was
Amazing.
him. He was in there. He's the one that was part of the reason why Chase Brown couldn't even get, from the handoff,
Yep.
right? They
Yep.
met him at the ball, which is incredible in itself.
Yep.
And then he also was in on that last drive, disrupting and causing chaos, and forcing some bad throws. So shout out to J.H. Travis, who definitely earned himself an honorary game ball tonight, along with a couple of other guys. But that defense, they worked their butt off. Remember, they were on the field playing for 36 minutes this game. 36 minutes. And that's something that scares me looking forward, because not every offense is going to be like Illinois.
Right.
So IU is going to have to figure out, yes, we can go high tempo, right? I love personally for a team like IU to go super high tempo. It throws even really organized defenses off, right?
Yeah.
But the problem we had back in the Kevin Wilson era, when we did the same thing, is that you always lose the time of possession. And the time of possession kind of lies to a certain point, right? Because you can have time of possession, but if you're not running a ton of plays, then are you really working the other team? But in this game, I believe Illinois had more plays than Indiana. So therefore, even though they had more time of possession, they actually used it well. So even though they were going slower than IU, they used it well, and they should have worn out this Indiana defense.
Yeah.
But credit to the IU, that to me, they didn't even look worn down at all come the fourth quarter, only allowing Illinois to score 3 points in the final quarter, and coming up clutch twice when IU turned it over in crucial situations, or came up short and had to punt it and put them in really bad field position. It did not matter. That defense came up clutch, and that's what ended up winning us that game. Sure, everybody celebrated when we scored that touchdown in the fourth quarter, but that was set up by the defense holding on for dear life, for stopping Illinois on fourth down at the goal line. All of these plays the defense made are the reason why we won the game. The reason why that Bazelak even had a chance to win the game and drive down the field, and Shaun Shivers even had a chance to run it in from 2 to 3 yards out.
Exactly. And one name I did forget to mention, by the way, Bradley Jennings. He had a really impressive performance. The Miami, Florida transfer, 1.5 tackles for a loss for him, 6 tackles overall in the game. And again, there are probably 10, I would say probably 5 to 7 additional players on defense that I did not explicitly call out there that showed up and stood out at different points in this game. To give you some comments, live post-game tweets from different players on this team. How about Noah Pierre, Indiana's improving defensive back, who said, "I love this team. Revenge tour live in effect." Shaun Shivers, great team win. I'll never lay down on my team. I got that dog in me. Of course, Shivers took that big hit in the first quarter and ended up winning the game on the final play. Taiwan Mullen had a post-game tweet, AO1. I'm not sure if that's an inside joke for his team, but of course, to see Mullen jump out there, he's really the most noticeable, probably the most well-known figure on this Indiana defense. He hit the post-game Twitter. AJ Barner, Indiana's tight end, who this was a get your feet wet type of game for him, of course, taking over for Peyton Hendershot. But AJ Barner, never daunted, was his post-game tweet, #LEO. Matt, look, overall, you saw a game plan on offense. You saw an identity on defense. How much does this game reshape your expectations the rest of the way? The one thing that does stand out to me here is, thanks to winning this game, Indiana's mentality is going to be in the right spot here for quite a few weeks now coming up. You know, they'll be in the right mindset, whether it's against Idaho, Western Kentucky, Cincinnati, Nebraska. I would really sort of put a pin in there as the first part of the schedule. Does this game reshape your expectations for this 2022 IU football team?
No. It doesn't reshape them. I think for me, it was eye-opening to see the fight this team has, which means it'll be nice to watch some close games this year with hopefully a couple teams that we're not really supposed to be in close games with. All right. So you can show this on game 1. What can we see in game 7, right?
Sure.
Down the line, right? I am slightly worried about the injuries. Had like half of our roster at least down with an injury. That's football, right?
Yeah, Aaron Casey, DeMarcus Elliott. I did not see a comment from Tom Allen post game. We'll keep track of that over on Indiana HQ as the week develops going into Idaho.
Yeah. I'm outruling going down holding your knee. That's not allowed anymore. It raises my blood pressure too much. Even though DeMarcus Elliott ended up coming back and playing, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
Just to go down, roll around, grab your knee, and do that. You might even be in pain, but please don't do that to me. My heart can't take it anymore. I would say, again, to answer your question because of the long tangent.
No,
I would say I'm a little bit more positive about that we could maybe get a result. I still think it's going to be a tough uphill climb to get to a bowl game. I think it's hard for me to see where we get our 6th win. I think I predicted us to go 3-9.
Yep. And you said first 3 were going to be wins.
I said the first 2 are going to be wins. And I don't think this Illinois team is very good. So the fact that we struggled against them is not fantastic. But I'm leaving the door open for the fact that it might have been a really bad game for Indiana. And I also want to credit the coaching staff for figuring stuff out in the second half.
Yeah.
After they really swung and missed on their halftime adjustments or lack thereof, because for the 25th or however many games that Tom Allen has been in charge of Indiana, we go in at halftime feeling I mean like 30th, 40th, whatever every game. Insert amount of games Tom Allen's been head coach for. And I feel like every game we get out coached after halftime, and it's more of like a holding on to a roller coaster that's coming off the rails, and you can see the end coming, but you just hope it comes soon enough before the wheels fall off. And I can't really remember many games in which we have outcoached the opposing coaching staff in the second half. This game was not one of them. We got outcoached in the second half. We got out executed in the second half, but we somehow pulled it out of our butts the last 2 minutes. Whatever we did, which was, forget the run, by the way.
Yeah.
Whatever we did worked. And so moving forward, I would like to see more of that.
So to me, that's the somehow, right? So so you and some of our life, are the folks in our live chat have said this too. Somehow, some way they pulled it off. And I understand that's like sort of immediate reaction to Indiana's win because third quarter was rough. Most of the fourth quarter was rough. IU found out. So to me, the somehow is answered this way, right? The how or the why, right? Indiana laid it out on the field for 60 minutes, right? They did not waver in their mentality. So that's the first piece. True. The second piece is Indiana abandoned what didn't work. Stop running the football if you're averaging 1 yard a carry. And the last drive was pass. 2 minutes. Your season was on the line. That final drive.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 wins isn't happening if you lose this game.
True.
And so that's exactly where I tip my cap. And that to me is the answer to the how or the why. It's Walt Bell and Connor Bazelak and to whatever degree Tom Allen basically said, look, we have to win this game. Tom Allen told Connor Bazelak this before that final drive. You have to find some way to score. The some way and the somehow is kill what didn't work. And Bazelak threw the ball, I think it was 10 times on that final drive and got it into the end zone. And
And
now we're feeling good.
Last 2 plays are runs.
Yeah, from close range, sure.
Yeah, from close range, but they were. There's something that's gonna need to be figured out against Idaho. Is the offensive line actually that bad? Was it bad execution against a decent Illinois defensive front? Was it miscommunication? Was it nerves? Or genuinely, are we in trouble with the running game? Needs to be diagnosed next week. Not against Western Kentucky, next week. So I hope that they come out at least in the first couple drives and try to establish the run, see if they can't do that against a mediocre Idaho team, because we are going to need to run the ball.
Oh, yeah. You have to figure it out.
Stay in games. They have to figure it out. I don't care how they do it. If it's, by the way, the option plays they ran, they need to work on that. They were terrible. All of them did nothing, absolutely nothing. But I like the idea. It just did poor execution. But yeah, the offensive line was getting beat to every single block. If they were doing a shift over, they're bringing blockers from the right side to the left side. There was already people down the middle.
Yeah.
So either that's an execution thing that's Illinois reading us, or maybe a combination of the both. Either way, that needs to be fixed. I think Aaron Hiller's a joke, but I'm willing to give him Darren Hiller, not Aaron Hiller, Darren Hiller. Yep. Darren Hiller's a joke. I don't even remember his name correct. It makes me so mad.
Look.
But look, he can fix things, right? He gets a second shot this year that some people didn't. Nick Sheridan.
I mean,
so go and fix it. Go prove your worth this week. Like go and show us against Idaho.
It's a huge week.
Go and show us against Idaho that Shivers can run for more than 80 yards in a game. If you can do that, I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable about the rest of the season, us possibly going to a bowl game. I will tell you this, there is absolutely no shot in hell we are making a bowl game if we can't run the football, right? We can't be one-dimensional, because all of a sudden teams are just going to either A, play prevent defense on us and we can't score, or B, blitz the living blitz out of us, and all of a sudden we can't throw the ball, we can't run the ball, we can't do anything, and we have 2 broken quarterbacks by the end of the season. So I am imploring the staff to figure that out, because the defense is there. I legitimately think they're there. They are there to play the game. They are there to win. They are there to possibly push towards a 6, 7, 8 win season. If the offense can just catch up, because the offense was the whole reason why this game was even close.
Right. Yeah, the progress is there on offense, right? From the quarterback spot, the wide receiver spot, and the positions that really need improvement are offensive line and tight end, right? And AJ Barner, as we mentioned.
I thought AJ Barner was great.
Get your feet wet. Can he be a dynamic piece of this offense the rest of the way? Like Cam Camper and DJ Matthews have shown. The next most likely candidate seems very much to be AJ Barner. Let's see, can he get there? And then as far as the offensive line is concerned, right, some names that you maybe need to keep your eye out for going forward. True freshman Bray Lynch, as well as Demon Moore. Always a fan of an offensive line, nicknamed Demon. Big fan. As I sit here and I look at Bray Lynch and Demon Moore, 2 highly rated true freshmen coming in. Maybe it's too much to ask of them this season. If it's not, we'll see if they get snaps. If it is, I think 2 guys you may see going forward are Khalil Benson, a redshirt sophomore, as well as Parker Hanna, and a transfer who came into the Indiana football program this season. Hanna took over for Matthew Bedford after Bedford left the game with an injury. Benson, as well as Hanna, are 2 players you just may see in addition to Cam Knight. If Darren Hiller and Walt Bell and Tom Allen choose to make a change on this offensive line. Folks, you are listening to our bonus post-game podcast episode. I'm not anticipating this is something we do every week. We'll play it by ear, but as Matt and I watched the end of that game, we said, shoot, we're pretty fired up, even though it's 1 a.m. Eastern time. Let's jump on a podcast and give our listeners what they want. Illinois knocked off by Indiana. The Hoosiers win 23-20. IU, one of 3 Big Ten teams with 1-0 Big Ten records, folks. Northwestern beat Nebraska. Penn State beat Purdue. Indiana knocked off the Illinois Fighting Illini. The Big Ten East, 2-0 now in interconference, interdivisional games. And look, they both were toss-ups. Penn State was a 3.5 point favorite. They covered. Indiana was a pick 'em, maybe a 1 point favorite. Indiana covered. All I'm saying is 2-0. We'll see how that plays out. Connor Bazelak, folks, is the first player to post a 300 passing yard game in his debut since Antoine Randall did in 1998.
You stole the words out of my mouth. I was literally going to interrupt you to say that, and you were already saying that. That's not fair.
Look, it's Indiana's first Big Ten win since 2020. Indiana forced 4 takeaways. It's the 6th time that happened under Tom Allen. The last time was November 14th, 2020, a 24-0 victory over Michigan State. We got a bunch more tidbits like this. You can follow us at Indiana HQ. I'm sure we'll have more coming out here over the next few days. Folks, at Bubba Prague, his name is Timothy Burke. He posted the final call by Don Fisher on the Varsity app for Indiana University Radio. Don Fisher, a legend, and he delivered, as you can expect, with his final call as Indiana knocked off the Illinois Fighting Illini. Matt, as you look at this now, how excited should Indiana fans be? Look, Idaho, it's got to be 2-0. Western Kentucky didn't look good in their first game. Western Kentucky plays Hawaii in this upcoming weekend here. Technically, week 1 of college football. Western Kentucky played in week 0. Looked a bit tough. Western Kentucky's got to be 3-0. As we wind down here, Matt, on this late Friday night / early Saturday morning, what are your final thoughts? How should IU fans feel? How do you feel? Indiana 1-0, took care of business. Where do things go from here?
1-0, like you said, took care of business in dramatic fashion. It's always fun, not stressful at all, fun.
Fun, so much fun.
Yeah, I'll talk myself into it. Fun.
Everything's great. Hey, wins are fun. Dubs. Wins
are fun only at the last breath of the game. Wins like that are not fun for the previous, however long the game went on for, like 3 hours or whatever it is. Not fun. Very stressful. But take celebratory sigh of relief. We got past game 1. We didn't look fantastic, but we also didn't look like total complete garbage. So that's good. We could always be Virginia Tech. So
or Nebraska.
I mean, Nebraska's playing North Dakota this weekend, and they might lose an FCS team. So look out. But speaking of Nebraska, looking forward. Look forward to beating the living hell out of a Idaho team next week, and two, and most importantly, enjoy your Saturday, folks.
Yeah,
get some sleep, wake up, watch College Game Day. There's some big games on tomorrow. I'll be up early watching the Florida-Utah game.
Good one. Yeah.
And then there's the nightcap, which is watching Ohio State and Notre Dame play. That should be fantastic. I think there's LSU, FSU as well on Sunday.
Yeah.
There's plenty of good football this weekend. So now that the stress of Indiana playing and winning their opening game, now let's enjoy watching all the games as a neutral. Also, Purdue lost, which makes it even better. So let's enjoy every game as a neutral, and let's hope Ohio State and Notre Dame both lose at the same time. Amen.
Yeah, and I'll be interested in Cincinnati going into Arkansas, right? Of course.
True. There's so many good games tomorrow.
That should be interesting.
Oregon, Georgia tomorrow as well, by the way.
Oregon, Georgia. And hey, what's funny is a lot of times as these week 1 schedules go, the games you don't expect to be good If they do become good, it's going to grab the headlines, right? Oh, shoot, Michigan, Colorado State in a close one. Who would have thought that? Wisconsin, Illinois State in a close one. Who would have expected that? You never know how week one develops. Bottom line is for Indiana, it's a 1-0 situation. And that's exactly how you want to go into this Idaho game and then Western Kentucky in week 3. As I sit here before I wrap up here, shout out to Charlie Mason. He was our contributor at Indiana HQ at Memorial Stadium
Charlie.
Tonight. First game doing this. What a game he picked to get his first game under the belt. You're gonna have Charlie here on this podcast Monday night. We're going to hit the reset button. Any final thoughts on this Illinois game? And then a look ahead to Idaho. Of course, we're going to talk about the college football playoff expanding to 12 now. We're going to have all of that on our Monday night podcast this week. Expect us to have Monday night podcasts regularly now until the end of basketball season. So you can expect that. Put it on your calendar. We'll have that for you going forward. As I wind down, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, look, it's an Indiana team that did not win a Big Ten game last year. It was a disaster. And the schedule gods gave Indiana a little bit of a reprieve because for a while, Indiana's season opener for 2022 was going to be a home game against Northwestern. But Northwestern and Nebraska moved up that first game to Ireland. And the Big Ten said, okay, you know what? And instead of Northwestern, Indiana, you get Illinois the first weekend. Hey, that's a pretty good trade-off, right? I mean, if you ask me right now, if Northwestern played Illinois on a neutral field, I'd give Northwestern the upper hand.
Yep.
And so a little bit of fortune can go a long way. And you saw Indiana recover 3 of the 4 fumbles that they forced in this game. You see a team that if they play close games, you've got a quarterback that you can trust to some degree. You've got a kicker that you can trust to some degree. And you take those 2 things and you see where it goes. And hey, no matter what, Indiana's bagged a Big Ten win. And now things get fun. Hey, bottom line, of course, look, Indiana football is not on the tier of Alabama or Clemson, okay? Or let me not say Clemson. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, okay, not that tier. I have watched this team now for well over a decade, almost 2 decades here. Give me something to root for. Give me something feisty. Give me something competitive. Tom Allen has raised that standard at Indiana. We said on this podcast last week why you should trust him. And he's earned it with another Big Ten win against a non-doormat team in Illinois as the Hoosiers won 23-20. But folks, that about wraps it up. For a 261st show of the Hoosier Sound, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. Thank you to our live audience. You're all beautiful people. To hear more fantastic episodes like the one you heard today, be sure to follow us at Indiana HQ and at the Hoosier Sound to make sure you don't miss any in the future. You can also go to our website, indianahq.com, to find it all in one place. Lastly, if you enjoy our show, leave us a review. Tell a friend, share our links. That kind of support really helps grow this podcast and reach more passionate IU fans such as yourself. But as always, thank you for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we will see you next time.
Peace and love, go Hoosiers.